Reboots. They're an interesting way to bring back a dead and forgotten franchise, or a franchise that was just never worth remembering to begin with. But with a reboot comes baggage, dregs of the past still clinging to the hull of your new flagship. Veering off in a new direction can lead to some issues, like hardcore fans grabbing the dregs and throwing them back in your face in defiance. Sometimes rightfully so. To say that happened with DmC Devil May Cry, that's some imaginative work there, lads, is a huge understatement. This shit got hammered harder than DIY with Thor. From what I remember, the trailer was met with all the enthusiasm of a fart in an elevator, and the devs didn't exactly help themselves, basically calling the original Dante gay and saying they had no interest in listening to the fans, which is a bit like shooting yourself in the foot with a howitzer. Also, new Dante looked like a crackhead in that trailer. Yeah, the only demons he's fighting can be smoked. Anyway, DmC is a hack and slash game developed by Ninja Theory and published by Capcom back in 2013. It's a reboot of the popular Devil May Cry series, a series where a man in an awesome red coat and a big sword kills demons so he can afford to buy pizza. On this journey of cheesy economical discovery, he learns about his dad Sparda, a demon who defeated the ruler of the demon world and his armies by himself, and sealed it to save humanity. He also banged a human woman named Eva, which led to Dante and his brother Virgil. They fight. A lot. See, Dante is the too cool for school hero who never swears, drinks, takes drugs, but will beat some demons to death with a motorcycle while falling down a massive demon tower because that's just what he does. Virgil is, well, the gameplay is as smooth as buttered up silk, the music is pretty damn good, and the stories are always fun while still maintaining a hint of seriousness. Oddly, the series skipped straight from 1 to 3. I got no idea what happened there. After 4 didn't really sell all that well, the series kind of died out until the release of this game 5 years later. Ninja Theory tried to breathe new life into the series by making it more western and edgy. Did it work? If it didn't, is it at least funny? God, I hope so. So the story starts much like all good stories, drunk off your face in a strip club surrounded by opening credits and hookers. This is our new Dante, or as the internet christened him, Dante. He's a rebel who doesn't care about anyone and just wants to drink and party. So he's a dick. He's also being hunted by demons, and after accidentally flashing his devil trigger to resident MacGuffin machine Cat, Dante's trailer is destroyed and we're finally thrust into combat. Thrust was a poor choice of word. Ugh. This is our first real taste of the combat, and, well, it's pretty basic, but decent. Dante starts with the Rebellion, his big murder sword, and about 2 combos to play with, and the amazing ability to summon enemies by looking off camera. The combat generally feels good, but also feels a lot slower than its predecessors. It just doesn't have the flow I felt in, say, Devil May Cry 4. I'm guessing the combat is supposed to feel more weighty, but it's missing Devil May Cry's signature style. That's kind of odd, as it's always been about style, flowing in and out of combos without getting hit, dodging away from enemy attacks and risking all that hard work for a cheeky little taunt to give a major boost to your style ranking.
Come and get me.
Not only does DmC not really have that flow, feeling like you're swinging around a sledgehammer sometimes, there's also no taunting, no cocky little jabs at your enemy's expense, no goading your enemies into attacking, no super sick dance moves. Oh, wait, that doesn't exist yet. It's a major part of the series, and I have no idea why it was left out. Especially since, as we'll learn later, new Dante is very, confident? Is that too much of an understatement? We're also, for some reason, lacking a lock-on this time around, which leads to moves like the series stalwart Stinger being much more annoying to pull off, as instead of just locking on, pushing the analog stick forward and pressing attack, you have to push the analog stick backwards and then forwards. Sounds fine in theory, but I had multiple instances of Dante just ignoring me and limply swinging at the air in some show of dominance? I don't know. I just wish he'd listen. We're not just swinging around the Rebellion though. In the second level we acquire 2 new weapons of the Angel and Demon variety. A Demon Axe and an Angel Scythe. That doesn't sound all that angelic. This leads to a big problem. A big bloody problem. Notice how the weapons are red and blue? That isn't just the differing colour choices of the afterlife. We've got colour-coded enemies to deal with. Joy, that sure sounds fun. It makes absolutely no damn sense for a game supposedly about fast, stylish combat to make you slow down and use a different weapon. Especially when it throws in a different coloured enemy right next to the other one. So you have to be careful where you swing if you don't want your weapon bouncing off, and Dante being left more open than his mum's chest. Get it? Ugh. Well, the weapons are at least mechanically different, starting with the slow but powerful demon axe to the fast but weaker angel scythe, to the slow but powerful demon fist, to the fast but weak angel glaive. Hey, I'm seeing a pattern here. The last two are acquired later in the game, this time as a reward for beating bosses, but as hinted at previously, there's very little to differentiate them from their predecessors. At least the glaive is more useful than the scythe, with its higher range and ability to wrangle enemies into one spot for easier murdering. But the fists, I only really prefer them over the axe because, well, who doesn't love uppercutting a demon into the stratosphere? That's just good family fun. There are also guns in this game, 3 to be exact. Not exactly an arsenal. You start with Dante's signature dual pistols, ebony and ivory. Useful for picking at enemies from afar, but they're not exactly hand cannons, are they? I sure hope you like them though, because they're all you're going to be using for a good section of the game. You don't get the Revenant, actually pretty cool sounding powerful shotgun, until Mission 11. For comparison, you got the shotgun in Devil May Cry 3 on, well, Mission 3. So why on earth it took so long for it to be handed over in this game is just beyond me. The last gun you get is the Kablooey, because apparently it was Bring Your Child to Work Day when they named this. It's an explosive dart gun I barely used, because you had to hold both X and square to detonate said darts, and in the time it takes me to do that, I could easily just give them some shotgun surgery. You also have a grappling hook, in 2 different flavours, blue for throwing yourself and red for get over here! And you'll need them, seeing as this reboot seems to focus a lot more on platforming for some unfortunate reason. Because that was the best part of 4, wasn't it? Now, I know I sound very negative about the combat, but when it takes the reins off and just lets you swing for the fences, it can feel good in its own way. Switching from angel and demon weapons to mix things up can feel satisfying when there isn't any colour-coded enemies about to kill the pace. Uppercutting an enemy into the lower atmosphere and slamming them back down like you're Goku throwing the world's edgiest spirit bomb is possibly one of the most satisfying attacks in this game. And launching an enemy into a fairground ride will never stop being fun. And if we're talking about fun here, then I have to talk about some of these level designs. Now we can sit here all day whipping this game like the red-headed stepchild golem creature thing it truly is. Right out of the gate, you've got the first level set in Limbo, with its red wavy aura and bright neon signs. It's sad this style isn't really in much more of the game. Instead, Limbo seems to be more of a land of high saturation and bad paving. Then there's Mission 10, Bad News, where you jump through the infographics of a faux Fox news station so you can fight a literal giant head that throws you into fake news reports, where you fight more demons. Just a slight question. If the people watching this aren't seeing demons, does that mean they're just watching me hit some sweet combos on Greg from down the road? I feel this might affect Dante's PR.
I'm taking you off the air.
It'll be fine. Let's go to the club. What's that button do? Huh. Joke's on you, I'm already broke. Oh. Alright, there's a story. I kind of forgot that one. So Dante is now homeless and being hunted by a hunter, imaginative, through Tesco Valley in Blackpool, as we follow Kat. She knows how to get you out of Limbo, and is the only person in the regular world who can see you. Why? Well, she's a psychic witch person with a can full of...
Doesn't smell too good. What's in the can?
A compound I created based on an old Wiccan recipe. Sea salt, shark oil, iron shavings, desiccated squirrel semen, wolf hair.
Good stuff.
And a PhD in plot convenience. She's at least somewhat likeable, which is in stark contrast to Dante over here, who not only threatens to shoot her after she warned him about the hunter demon, but also acts like an edgy, whiny teenager who just doesn't need any help. God, leave me alone, you don't understand me! You get it? Because Dante had white hair in the original game. You know what else he had? A personality not akin to a cholera outbreak. When you find one of those, get back to me, okay? Anyway, the hunter demon is apparently invincible until Cat throws a magic Molotov cocktail right into its face hole. Ugh. This leads into the first boss fight, where you hit it in the face until it falls over. Just going off topic here for a second, Metal Gear Rising. It came out a month after this game, and the first boss of that game has you doing this. Oh, it's so good! Huh, what? Oh yeah, sorry. Once you've beaten the hunter, he calls Dante the son of Sparda. I'll get into that later. His mother a whore, and gets his head caved in for some more of his troubles, thus letting Dante out of Limbo so he can complain at Cat some more.
I didn't ask for your help.
She gives him a lift to her boss, this V for Vendetta wannabe and leader of the Order, a group out to stop this kingpin looking like over here called Mundus. He's the Demon King, ruling over humanity by using debt and ripping off They Live. You know, I would enjoy this game more if I was playing as Roddy Piper. They plan on stopping his evil brainwashing ways via propaganda and I'm not actually sure what else. They seem kind of useless. I'm pretty sure I could run a better revolution than these guys, and I wouldn't need a fedora to do it either. The masked man is Virgil, and not only did he lose his memory at age 7, just like Dante,
Your point?
but he seems to know a lot more about Dante than he does. The gang goes to an old abandoned mansion where Virgil says Dante's answers lie and sends him into Limbo by himself. Because he wouldn't want that hat getting damaged, would we, Virgil? So, alone in Limbo again, Dante slays more demons and unlocks his hidden childhood memories. Sparda, Dante and Virgil's dad, was a demon and was Mundus' right-hand man. He ends up falling in love with an angel named Eva, which is a big no-no in this world as both otherworldly factions are at war. So knocking off Romeo and Juliet isn't really what either side wants right now. It also produces Nephilim, a fusion of angel and demon, a creature that is prophesied to kill the Demon King. Being the proactive Demon King he is, Mundus kills Eva and Sparda erases his kids' memories so they don't go looking for revenge and get themselves killed. For not keeping it in his pants, Sparda gets chained up in Mundus' sex dungeon for all eternity, or until he remembers the safe word. Apparently that's a fate worse than death. I don't know, kinda looks like someone's strange kink. Now if you're a nitpicking sod like me, this will raise some big questions for you. Because in the original series, they were called the Sons of Sparda because Sparda was possibly the most powerful demon ever. He beat the Demon King in single combat and then went off and made babies with a human woman. I mean, his sword is like a world-ending weapon if wielded by the right person. So calling his kids the Sons of Sparda kind of makes sense. He actually left a legacy. So why exactly do they bother calling Dante that in the reboot? I mean, Sparda kinda sucks in this one. He rebels for maybe a few years before getting beaten and gimped by his old boss for the foreseeable future. He hasn't done anything of note and has no legacy. Dante could be the son of Greg and it'd have the same effect. Anyway, kill more demons, go through some trials to unchain a statue.
What am I unleashing?
Ooh, ominous. Get out of Limbo and do some planning. First thing on the chopping block is the demon soda factory virility. It's like Monster, but filled with Satan. So Monster. And after going to church and being called a sexual deviant, we get to work, adding a bit more demon flavour into the mix. You want to know something nice? Dante is a bit less whiny at this point. Don't get me wrong here, most of his one-liners still have all the humour of an orphanage fire, and his jokes are...
So which one of you fat asses wants to be Limbo's biggest loser?
there. But at least he's more appealing than the emo edgelord we met at the beginning. Anyway, after adding a lot more iron to this fine beverage, Dante finds a secret ingredient buried deep below the factory. And boy, it's ugly.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you!
Ah yes, a real battle of wits right there. I'm sure this took a long time to write. This is apparently a succubus. I mean, if you ever wanted to sleep with a tub of butter, this might be your thing. Mundus is using its juices to give the drink its special brainwashing properties and distinctive flavour. It, however, is not so happy to see you. So use the grappling hook, don't get puked on, chop, disconnect.
You're dumb.
and then blend.
I think you're all mixed up.
Now we've taken out Mundus' soda supply, it's time to take out his TV. Hopefully next we go for his Doritos, maybe steal his copy of Call of Duty. Well, at least getting to the TV station should be easy, it's just down the street. Ha, yeah right, it's in Limbo. God damn it, Virgil, take off that stupid hat.
M'lady.
We get some more pretty cool visuals and enter another really nice looking Limbo level, this time set underwater, with bits of concrete and trains floating in midair, an upside down train station and a big fight in a glass ceiling. 'Tis pretty cool. On his way to the station, Dante runs into a demon named Phineas, who, for once, we don't turn into Salsa. Instead he helps him deal with the flying creatures bothering him and eventually finds his missing eye, which seems more like a gravity gun than an eye. Can I have one of those? Because I'm really lazy. Before leaving Phineas to his prison, Dante climbs a statue, grabs a key and fights through another trial to finally free the statue and have a chat with his ghost mother. This unleashes Dante's Devil Trigger ability, which is a tad bit different from how it was in the previous games. Instead of turning into a super demon filled with superpowers and pizza, Dante's hair turns white, the coat turns red, and time slows down with all enemies thrown into the air. It's useful, but it just doesn't feel anywhere near as powerful as the old iterations. And I miss turning into a super demon. Why would you take that out? Eventually, after you've gone all Dio on your enemies, you make it into the prison run by good old Bill O'Reilly stand-in Bob Barbas. Anyone who even thinks bad thoughts about the great leader ends up here to work off their debts and get kinked by the demons. Neat. Unfortunately for them, we're not here for a jailbreak. We've got a dinosaur-wearing Fox News wannabe news station to take down, and this leads into one of my favourite sections. Seriously, just look at this. It's really cool, and I wish this section was slightly longer and more in-depth. Instead, it's just platforming until we come face to head with, Zordon? I hope not. I never really liked the Power Rangers. This boss gives me Crash Bandicoot flashbacks with all the laser jumping and slamming buttons. Now if Dante would do the Crash dance, I could die happy. But not all things are Wumpa Fruits and Dingo Dolls. See, while you were taking out fake news, Virgil and his friends are having some problems. Unfortunately, you're stuck in Limbo, so you can't do anything to stop the cops, which leads into a mostly boring level where you walk around as a ghost watching people you never knew get freedomed on your way to Virgil and Kat. Now right here is where Virgil proves to be completely useless. Here's a guy who in previous games repeatedly fought Dante to a draw, and now here's this guy cowering behind a shield from a regular enemy. Nice work buddy, don't work too hard, you may edge on actually being useful. Anyway, Kat sets the place to explode so the cops can't steal their info, but is left to be arrested in the process. This leads to some actual character development where Dante stays to comfort her and walk her through surrendering as the police break down the door. It shows that not only has Dante been through this himself a lot beforehand, but that he actually sees Kat as a friend and not as just someone poking their nose in. Virgil, being the good guy he is, has already run off, probably to find a dark alley somewhere to set up a new clubhouse. Speaking of clubs, with Kat now a prisoner of Mundus and Virgil busy not caring, Dante has an idea.
I'm not saying we trade me for her. I'm saying we offer another trade. Cap for Mundus' mistress, Lilith.
Why would Mundus care about one of his whores?
Because she carries his child.
Turns out Lilith runs a human demon nightclub, which is incredibly inclusive for a sentient skin flap. But we're not here to dance, we're here to explore the most visually impressive level in this game, and crank a demon baby round the head with a long sword. Oh god, why are you doing that? After that, she's taken back to the super secret storage unit clubhouse, and the deal is set. This goes about as well as you'd might expect. Mundus, after losing his lover and child, nukes almost the entire city, and this triple threat of idiots narrowly escapes thanks to Dante's Devil Dio powers. They decide maybe we should hurry up with this whole killing the Demon King thing, and after somewhat recovering from her injuries, Kat lays out a plan for the brothers that totally won't go wrong. Dante is the diversion, because let's face it, he ain't the sharpest demon sword in the drawer, while Virgil does all the hacking, probably. His track record of actually doing things hasn't been great. At the top of the tower they finally converge and have the worst conversation in any game I've ever played, bar none.
You make quite the team.
I'm stronger.
I'm smarter.
I'm better looking.
Mundus is behind the vault door. Let's not keep him waiting. And I got a bigger dick.
Listen, whoever wrote that exchange, you're fired. I'm not even your boss, but you're still fired. The last part of this plan is simple. Dante distracts Mundus by making him angry, while Virgil works on taking out the Hellgate, making him immortal. This, again, goes about as well as you'd expect. Virgil sure is taking his sweet time dealing with that Hellgate. Wonder how Dante's doing.
Leave my brother alone.
Thankfully, before this can go all Temple of Doom, Virgil deals with the gate, and the two of them take on Mundus. And by the two of them, I mean Virgil is useful for about 10 seconds before getting grabbed, and it's up to Dante to do everything, again. The fight is pretty simple, just hack away at his giant hands and pull bits off until he dies. It's like Demon Lego. So, after animating Mundus to death, the world is saved, right? I mean, people can see the demons now, so they're probably killing people, and half the city is destroyed. Oops. I mean, we still did better than Man of Steel, I guess? Okay, yeah, we've done a pretty bad job, but it could be worse. There could be someone ruling over everything. Virgil, what are you doing?
Yes. Free from the demons. The path is clear for us to rule. What did you just say? The path is clear for us to rule.
So, Virgil's evil. Could you tell? I mean, if you look past the whole using people, not caring about human lives, complete lack of empathy and no scoping a baby, he seemed like a pretty swell guy. This boss fight is actually pretty fun, in my opinion. It's decently fast, Virgil pulls out some of his old moves, and a new one that was so interesting they nicked it for Devil May Cry 5, a doppelganger. When Virgil gets too weak, he sends out his hologram buddy to keep you busy while he heals up. The only way to finish this fight is with Devil Trigger, and rather conveniently, Clone Gill drops DT orbs for you to use. How sweet. Returning this hospitality in his own way, Dante buries his sword hilt deep into him. How do these innuendos keep happening? Before Dante can finish him, Cat convinces Dante to stop before he goes full devil, and instead they let him use his weeb sword powers to escape. So with Cat and Dante walking off to the sunset and Virgil off somewhere, that's it, right? It's all over. Oh good. Do I get to wear the hat? Please don't make me wear that hat. Virgil's downfall starts with one of the worst looking cutscenes I've ever seen. Like 2005 Flash animation quality. This wouldn't be possible even if you squinted at it from across the street during a snowstorm. It makes even less sense when they also use in-game cutscenes throughout. So why bother with this baby's first animation nonsense, I will frankly never know. Once you're in-game, you can really tell they steered right into the make it more like the original skid, because Virgil's moves are almost entirely taken from Devil May Cry 3, as in his regular combo is exactly the same. Not that there's a problem with that per se, but when you go out of your way to try and distance yourself from the predecessors, this really comes off as them just throwing up their hands and going, okay fine. Because his moves are almost entirely taken from a previous game, Virgil feels a damn sight faster than Dante, as some of the flow, it seems, is still clinging onto the code. Throw that in with the angel and demon weapon switching and you've got some pretty good stuff right here. The platforming, however, is still annoying, especially since the game doesn't actually tell you Virgil has some jump upgrades right from the get-go, leading to some embarrassing deaths. But the cream on top of this incel weeaboo sundae is the story. Oh god. The story. This is basically all Virgil's revenge fanfiction, bouncing from area to area, killing demons and old friends, like Cat in a cutscene, or Dante in a cutscene. Actually, the only person you get to fight in this is Virgil. I'm guessing that's because he was already programmed and ready to go, but it feels super lazy to not even cobble together some kind of Dante fight. Even 3 dyed AI Virgil's coat red when you play as Virgil. Yeah, that was lazy, but at least there was a fight. Not that any of this really matters, as this is all some kind of between life and death hallucination state. Apparently he's here to heal his wounds, and ends up becoming more powerful after killing his clone, gaining his doppelganger powers from him. But hold on a minute, he already had those at the end of the main game, which this is a sequel to. Wait, what? Gonna be honest, there isn't really much else to talk about here. This DLC is really short, like 2 hours even while exploring short. Virgil becomes a new Demon King at the end and goes off to fight Dante in a sequel that we probably won't ever get, but I secretly hope for. So much more could have been done with this DLC, and while what we've got isn't bad, it is kinda disappointing. So let's wrap this overly long, rambling nonsense up. Is DmC a bad game? Not by a long shot. It's a pretty fun but very flawed spectacle fighter with some really cool visual level design and music that fits well with the sometimes flawed but overall good combat. Is it a good Devil May Cry game? No, just no. Even as a reboot, it fits this series like a round peg punched through a wall with no hole. The flow is mostly missing, made worse by colour-coded enemies, halting the fun, platforming that I just don't enjoy, and a story that wallows in its own edginess most of the time just because it wants to try and be cool. It feels like it takes a step from being good towards being great, then stumbles and falls before it even leaves the starting block. And it seems like the devs actually listened, because a few years later on the PS4 and the Xbox One, they released DmC Definitive Edition. It adds in a lock-on system, a turbo mode in case you want to speed things up a bit, a stealth system that actually forces you to mix things up, and takes Virgil's ridiculous hat off. I still wouldn't class the game as great, but the improvements made are a big step forward, and this is the version of the game I'd recommend playing. Personally, I hope that we actually one day get a sequel. With the improvements shown, this could be a pretty damn fun side series. Just please, write something more Devil May Cry and less Simple Plan.